Hey everyone, I thought I would do another demo for you today. So today I'm going to make a carrot cake. So this carrot cake is really good and it has cream cheese icing, which is probably the best part. Now carrot cake is a good cake to make because it does have some vegetables in while still tasting good. And as well, you have the option of including some other ingredients based on your preference. So there's things like pineapple or raisins or nuts if you're not allergic, and you can decide if or any of those that you want. Just a reminder, before you start cooking, make sure you get parental permission, make sure you follow all the safety rules, and this isn't for marks, but again, if you do end up making a carrot cake, send me some pictures. Okay, so for today's recipe, I'm going to demo to you guys how to do carrot cake. So ingredients that you're going to need, so you're going to need cinnamon, you're going to need measuring cups, measuring spoon, some sort of leveling device. I have my vanilla here, baking powder, baking soda, flour, carrots. Now the carrots that I have are already pre-washed and pre-peeled, so it makes it a little bit easier, but you can easily wash and peel your own carrots. I have crushed pineapple, which is optional, but it tastes really good inside. White sugar, eggs. This is unsalted butter. You can use salted butter or you can use margarine, whatever you have at home. I have a grater because I need to grate my carrots. I have brown sugar, I have oil, I have salt, I have a liquid measuring cup, and then I'm gonna cook mine in a bundt pan, but you can cook yours in just a regular 9x13 if you want. Okay, so for the first ingredient, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your eggs, and I'm using my mixer to do this, but if you have just a bowl and a wooden spoon, you could do that as well. So you're gonna crack your eggs, and you're gonna put 4 eggs inside your bowl or your mixer. Okay, so the next ingredient that I'm gonna put in is my vegetable oil. Now vegetable oil is a liquid, so you wanna make sure you're putting it in a liquid measuring cup and you're getting down at eye level and making sure that it's the correct measure. So I'm taking my vegetable oil, which is 1.5 cups, and I'm gonna pour it into my mixer, or again, into your mixing bowl if you're not using a mixer. And then I'm going to turn this on, and I'm gonna start mixing it together. Okay, so I'm going to measure out my white sugar. So it calls for 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. So I'm gonna measure my white sugar first. So again, I'm using a 250 ml measuring cup or 1 cup. And I don't have a proper leveler here, but anything with a flat edge will work. So I'm just gonna use this. And again, it has that flat edge. So I'm getting a nice even measure. Then you're going to go and you're going to pour your sugar into your mixer. So I have my 1st cup of sugar. And then for my 2nd cup of sugar, I'm going to use brown sugar. And with the brown sugar, I'm going to put my measuring cup in. I'm going to scoop a heaping measuring cup full, but then with brown sugar you don't level, instead you're going to pack it down. So I'm just using the heel of my hand and I'm pressing it down so it looks like a nice even measure. I'm then going to take it over to my mixer, plunk it in. I'm going to put the mixer on and I'm going to mix that sugar up with the eggs and oil. Okay, so my next ingredient, I'm going to use our vanilla extract. So you can use pure vanilla extract or you can use artificial. It won't matter for this recipe. And we're going to use a tablespoon. So again, a tablespoon is 15 mils. So I'm going to measure this out. All right, so once you have it measured out, you're just going to put it inside your mixing bowl. I'm going to mix this up just for a couple seconds here before I start adding my dry ingredients. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our flour. So I'm just using just normal all-purpose flour. So we need 2 cups of flour. So that's a total of 500 mils. So just use your 1 cup or 250 measure twice. So again, fill to overflowing and then use some sort of leveler, level it off. So I have my 1st cup. I'm gonna pour it in. gonna go for my second cup. Again, leveling it. Okay, so my second cup of flour is going in, and I'm not gonna mix it yet. I'm gonna add all my dry ingredients in before I start mixing it. So I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking soda, as well as 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now this leveler this small measuring spoon that I'm using, it has a bunch of different measures on it. So we need 2 teaspoons. So I could either use the 5 mils twice, or if I just slide this up, it makes the spoon part bigger and I can use my 10 mil. So I'll just do my 10 mil. So baking soda. So again, even though it's a small measure, you still fill to overflowing, and you're gonna level it. All right, so I have 10 mils of baking soda. That's gonna go into my bowl. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with baking powder. So baking powder. So it's the same measure again, it's 10 mils. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my baking powder in. Okay, the next thing that it calls for is a dash of salt. So I'm just gonna take my salt and I'm just gonna pour some in. And then once I have my dry ingredients in, oh, I gotta add my cinnamon. So with the cinnamon, I'm just gonna take the lid off to make it a little bit easier to level. And it calls for a tablespoon. So again, that's 3 teaspoons or 15 mils. So I'm gonna take my cinnamon and I'm going to level this off as best as you can, okay? And go ahead and put it in. So that's all my dry ingredients. So now I'm just going to mix this all together. Okay, so I'm going to grate my carrots. Now, like I said, my carrots are already pre-washed and peeled, but if your carrots are not, you want to make sure you wash them really good and take the peel off. Once they're peeled and ready to go, you're going to grate them. Now, I have 2 graters here. Either one is fine. If you're going to use a handheld grater, normally they have different sides on them. So this is what I like to call the raindrop side. The holes are a little bit bigger. And this is more of a zesting side, or really, really small grates. Don't use this one. If you use this one, your carrots are going to turn out mushy and there's going to be a lot of excess liquid. Okay, so use the bigger side. Now, I'm going to use this grater just because it's going to collect all of the carrot grates at the bottom. Okay, so after you finish grating your carrots, you need approximately 3 cups worth of grated carrots. You're going to take your carrots and you're going to put them into your bowl or into your mixer. I'm going to get those all in here. Now, after you add your carrots, you have a couple things that are optional. So you can add raisins if you want. You can add pecans if you're not allergic to nuts. You can add pineapple. So kind of pick what you like from that, and I am going to add some pineapple. Now my pineapple is in chunks instead of crushed, so I am going to just cut it up on my cutting board. I'm going to use a sharp knife, grab a fork to get it out, and I'm going to just start cutting my pineapple up on my cutting board. And really, you can cut it up to be any size, right? The smaller it is, the less you'll bite into chunks of pineapple, but you'll still have that pineapple flavor. If you like to bite into pineapple, then leave your chunks a little bit bigger. So it's totally up to you. And we're gonna add a cup worth of pineapple. So I'm just gonna start cutting it up and then I'll measure it in my 1 cup measuring cup after. So you can just take your chunks, or if you have pineapple rings, that would work too. And I'm just gonna cut mine into quarters. So they're still big. They're not too small, but you're not going to bite into a giant chunk of pineapple. Okay, once your pineapple's all chopped up, you're going to measure it. So again, you want about a cup worth of pineapple. And again, you can kind of cut it up as big or as small as you like. So I have about a cup worth. I'm going to add a little bit of juice. You can add a little bit. You don't want to use all the juice, otherwise it gets to be a little bit too mushy, but a little bit of juice gives it a little bit of extra flavor. So take your pineapple, you're going to put it into your bowl or your mixer, and you're just going to mix up the carrots and pineapple if you added, or pecans or raisins, to your cake batter. Okay, the last step before you get it in the oven is you're going to get a pan out. Now I'm going to use a bundt pan, but you could use a 9x13 pan. You could use two 8 or 9 inch circle pans and then layer them. It's kind of up to you. So you want to spray your pan. Make sure you get the sides. All right, and then you're just going to take your cake batter and you're going to put it in your baking pan. And a rubber spatula is a good tool to use to get all the batter off the sides of the bowl. All right, so once all your batter is in your cake pan, I'm going to put this into the oven. And depending on what type of pan you use, your baking time will adjust a little bit. But I'm going to cook this for about 40-45 minutes, and then I will check it and see if it's done. So to tell if it's done, you can either touch the top of it, and if it springs back when you lightly touch it, it's done. If the edges start to pull in from the sides of the pan, it's done. Or you can take a clean toothpick and poke the center of the cake, and if the toothpick comes out clean, it's done. So the ingredients that I'm going to use for my cream cheese icing, so I have cream cheese, I have unsalted butter. Now the butter that I showed you at the beginning for the cake ingredients, you didn't actually need it for the cake, it was for the icing. So you just need half a cup, not for the cake, but for the icing. So again, this is unsalted butter, but if you had salted butter, that would probably be okay, or margarine. I have my pure vanilla extract, but artificial would be fine. And then I have my powdered sugar. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking my butter, and it's half a cup. So this butter is already pre-measured. So I need half a cup of butter, and this is a half a cup right here. So I'm just going to take my butter and I'm going to plunk it into my mixer. And then I'm also going to take my cream cheese, and I'm going to use the entire block of cream cheese because it calls for 8 ounces. And I'm going to put my cream cheese in my mixer. Now I'm going to start by mixing these together, just to soften them and start to incorporate them. Okay, so once your cream cheese and butter are starting to mix, you can measure out your vanilla, and I need a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'll just carefully put this in, and then I'm going to turn my mixer on, and I'm going to mix the vanilla into the cream cheese and butter mixture. Okay, so once your butter and vanilla and cream cheese is all mixed together, then you're going to take your 1 cup of icing sugar, and you're going to do that 4 times. So it calls for 4 cups of icing sugar. So I have my first cup here, and I have it leveled off, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour it in, and then I'm just going to do that 4 more times. Okay, so once you have your 4 cups of icing sugar in your bowl or your mixer, all you're going to do is you're going to turn it on, and it's going to look kind of thick at first and crumbly, but it should come together. Okay, so after a couple minutes of mixing, you'll see that the icing has come together. Now it's still pretty thick, so if you wanted to thin it out with a little bit of milk or water, you could, but I think I'm going to leave mine as is. So once it's done, I'm just going to lift this up, and there it is. Now it's time to ice your cake.